Welcome to Does It Matter by Brainy Ballers, where we dissect the game with cutting-edge analytics to give you the upper hand. We analyze everything from hand sizes to average depth of targets to uncover hidden trends that no one else sees. Say goodbye to guesswork and hello to data-driven domination. Because here at Brainy Ballers, we don't just watch the game, we understand it. So get ready, it's podcast time.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission, it's pretty laser focused. We've got a stack of research here, and we're trying to answer one of those, perennial questions in Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Right. The tight end draft age debate. Does it actually matter?
Exactly. Does it really predict long-term success? We're talking PPR formats here. And we went deep, looking at data all the way back to 2003.
Yeah, we analyzed the top 50 finishers season by season.
Comparing the real studs, the top 5, top 10 guys.
Against the bottom 10, 41st to 50th.
Okay.
And what we found for you is, well, it's kind of a contradiction, really. We were definitely hunting for a clear signal. And yeah, the data did point towards a specific age benchmark initially. But the big takeaway, statistically, draft age is honestly surprisingly weak as a predictor overall. I'm going to break down exactly why that is, show you which numbers, well, maybe you should ignore, and which might still have a little bit of use.
All right, let's start with the hook then, because like you said, that initial look, the youth thing, it looks pretty strong.
It does.
When we average things out over the last couple of decades, yeah, youth seemed correlated with the best performances. I mean, in 15 out of 21 seasons, that's, over 71% of the time? The average draft age of those top 5 finishers was lower than the guys scraping the bottom 31st to 50th.
So, on average, younger TEs look like they started hotter. Definitely. And that average trend, that's what made us dig in more, try to isolate, the sweet spot, where's the real edge.
Yeah.
And after crunching the numbers, breaking down all those data points, we zeroed in on an optimal threshold.
Do you want to start dominating your drafts? At BrainyBallers.com, we've researched every metric under the sun for you to find which ones are best linked to fantasy points. You can access hundreds of metrics to sharpen your scouting abilities so you know which metrics matter and which are just noise. Stop guessing on which thresholds to look for within each metric. Big numbers can be misleading or irrelevant. Our Ultimate Athlete Blueprints reveal essential scouting metrics, their importance, and benchmarks within each metric that help predict a player's probability of being a success or bust. Elevate your scouting ability with Brainy Ballers Ultimate Athlete Blueprints today. Click the link in the description. Now back to the show.
Specifically, 21.2 years old and below.
21.2, exactly.
Yeah, that specific number. And what seemed important about that number is that the TEs drafted in that young window, they showed a 16.0% higher top 10 appearance rate compared to the bottom 10 guys.
Okay, 16%.
That 21.2, it feels like it should be a potential gold mine, right?
But, okay, if those 21.2 and under guys are hitting that much more often, how does the overall research land on draft age is not a strong predictor? That feels like a massive contradiction. How do we square that?
That is the central question, right? That's what this deep dive is really about. To answer that, we have to look at the overall statistical significance.
Okay.
So when we run a test for linear correlation across the entire data set, which basically asks, if I plot age against future success, is there a clear trend line, up or down?
Right. Is there a real relationship?
Exactly. The result, the Pearson value for TE draft age was only minus 0.081.
Okay, minus 0.081. What does that actually mean for you, the listener, in plain English?
It means the line is basically flat, like almost zero predictive signal. Just for context, think about QB draft capital, like how high a quarterback gets picked. That's generally seen as important. Well, that had a Pearson value of negative 0.219. Much stronger statistical link there. There's just no significant linear relationship between a TE's draft age and their future fantasy points when you look at everyone together.
Gotcha. That paints a much clearer picture than the overall signal is just weak.
Very weak.
And connecting this back, the data also suggests that even that historical benchmark, that 21.2 number, it's actually becoming less relevant over time, which is fascinating. In the most recent decade analyzed in the study, that super young window, its frequency of producing top 10 finishers actually dropped by a huge 28.3% compared to the decade before it.
Exactly. That decreasing trend, honestly, that might be the most compelling piece of this whole puzzle.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it strongly suggests the NFL itself, and therefore fantasy success, which follows, is just less concerned with pure raw youth at tight end now than maybe they were 10, 15 years ago.
Interesting. So they're waiting longer or prioritizing other things.
Seems like it. Waiting for more developed players, maybe? Or maybe they're just prioritizing other traits way more than age now. Size, speed, college production, who knows?
Okay, so let's boil it down. What's the final takeaway for you listening, trying to build your dynasty rosters or models?
End of the day, TE draft age, used by itself, is a weak metric. It's just not that predictive.
Even with that 21.2 history.
Right. While that 21.2 and below benchmark did exist historically, the trend right now suggests its importance is fading fast. It's definitely not something you should be leaning on heavily on its own.
Okay, so the key context here is only consider using this if it genuinely adds some predictive power, some lift to a bigger, more established model you're already confident in.
Exactly. Don't use it as your main filter. Please don't.
Right. Okay, so here's something for you to think about then. If the NFL is shifting, maybe prioritizing things like size, athleticism, or specific college production metrics more than just raw youth at tight end, what other overlooked metric might be stepping up? What could be replacing draft age as the new key signal for finding those long-term breakout tight ends?
That's the question to chew on.
Definitely something to consider. Thanks for diving deep with us.